If life is a journey, then I surmise there must be some sort of trail, right? Or there's got to be a who or what, something that made my journey. Did my journey, my path, your path, our path, did it emerge like a well-worn path that a deer makes when it goes back and forth through the forest? Or was it fashioned by some kind of path maker? For some Unitarian Universalists, we are confident that a holy element exists to assist us as we make decisions in our life. For other UUs, our compass solely consists of a reliance on our personal intuition and steadfast responsibility for the decisions we make. Regardless of the complex and the diverse understandings concerning the presence of a divine guide, very few people will argue that individuals who have walked the path before us are powerfully important. Yesterday, we had Renee Scott, who did a workshop about Black inventors, people we have never heard of. Society has a way of missing so much. The inventor of the potato chip, a Black inventor. And I think about these people when I think about a trail and the path markers along the trail. The knowledge and the wisdom of the people who have traversed life's tenuous terrain prior to us is extremely helpful. By seeking their guidance through stories, poems, works of art, and music, we can find the support we need as we saunter along on our own individual paths. As I mentioned with the children, a potent metaphor for a reflection on life and the guideposts we seek is a human creation called a cairn. They may be pronounced cairns, but they are Cairns, and in Scotland they call them cairns. Although there are numerous reasons why people in all parts of the world create cairns, they're generally used to mark hiking trails or walking routes. They're often found in mountainous regions where above the tree line there is no way to know which direction to go as you go up the mountain. So you're bereft of any kind of path. So these cairns were set up. Each person that was walking on the path would let the person who was coming after them know that where the trail was by putting a rock on top of them. Most cairns are small, maybe a foot or less in height, but a few are built taller so as to protrude through a layer of snow. It's a traditional practice for each person passing by a cairn to add a stone. The habit is to add only one on the top and to use smaller stones as they go, resulting in a sometimes, as you all saw, precarious stack of stones. The stack provides a means to help folks find their way along a path where the trail lacks landmarks or signposts. Cairns or markers along a trail remind us of where we have been, where we are going, and a stone structure's mere existence, the fact that the stones exist, is a reminder. They reveal that others have traversed the course, that maybe we too can carry on even the most difficult hardship of times, and that we have perspectives that other people have had who have lived before us. Several years ago, I became enamored with cairns in Arizona. The little structures appeared at the base of Cathedral Rock in Sedona. This is the irony. I was doing this cairn series before I went to Arizona, before I even knew what a cairn was. They became more than trail markers for me. I experienced them as, I'm going to say it, mystical maybe, powerfully instructive. So I was around 50, and for the women in the room, you know that 50 is a marker that for most women. And I was struggling that year. Sure, these rocks, they're just rocks, but they spoke to me in a way. They spoke loudly about the journey that is life the journey that is my life and others. Author Brent Plate wrote, "The stone's journey meets the human journey, provoking memories, contemplation, a respect for the immense energies at work in the universe, all contained in a small object that can be tossed or kicked aside, skipped across the surface of water, with an ever so supple twist of the wrist, set it up along the trail, used as a tool, or placed in an altar setting." William Blake once famously suggested, and I adore this, to see the world in a grain of sand and heaven in a wildflower, how hold an infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. How simple, how powerful the simplicity. In such sensual experiences with objects, the macrocosmic wonders of the world connect to the microcosm. That is our sensing body. Did you see how the kids wanted to hold the rocks? This morning, I speak about our connection to the earth and about how that connection is magnified in a humble stone. We can learn something from world traditions where rock mythology, or rock lore, if you will, where it exists. For example, the Jewish tradition has helpful insight for one who approaches difficult situations. A scripture in Deuteronomy says, "Remember the days of old. He set them on high places of the earth, that he might eat the yield of the land, that he might suckle honey from the rock." The possible from the impossible. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner referenced this passage when he wrote about Jewish mysticism and our human desire for sustenance as we strive to survive. He wrote, quote, "For us too, the everyday world is strewn with rocks. We fear that we have been led out into this wilderness to perish, that our yearning for holiness will be forever unfulfilled. And then at that moment, from something as mundane as a rock, there glistens a drop of that eternal baby food, honey. Even here is a spiritual nourishment." And so we eat a little and we're satisfied and we go on our way. To find a morsel of goodness and unexpected sweetness in the occasional dry barrenness of living is faith's most precious endowment. To gaze at pebbles and appreciate just what they have endured. That's valuable meditational practice. Here's another excerpt by Plate. This is a book called 5 Objects in World Traditions. Throughout history and across the world, stones and the stories they are witness to let us know where we have been, where we are going, and lastly, who we are. Christians sing about God as Rock of Ages, that is, source of unmovable strength, one with whom a person can count on for support. Small pebbles are believed to have been the earliest Catholic rosaries for prayer, and the mala beads that are used in Hindu meditation, yoga meditation, were thought first to have been tiny pebbles. A faithful follower of Judaism places a pebble on the top of a grave marker. A camper makes a fire ring with stones. A child hops across a stream, stepping on one stone and then another, and an adult rubs a smooth stone with the thumb to ease stress in a difficult work environment. When I was telling the worship associates that this is kind of what I was thinking, a sermon I wanted to talk about stones, one of the individuals says every day where he pulled out a stone on a cord, and he said, "I've had this since I was 18 years old. It's been with me and it means so much." And it was a stone with a little hole in it. We have no clue. Most people recognize their connection to rocks. They touch them, cherish them as mementos from places they have visited, and they tell stories about how they found the rock. Stones themselves tell stories. Did you know there are 40 large boulders outside the National Museum of American Indian in Washington, D.C.? and that these boulders are called grandfather rocks. They deserve, it is said, as much respect as tribal elders deserve. There's a large boulder at Forest Hill Cemetery in Utica, New York. The boulder is like no other in the area. Legend says that years ago, the rock followed a tribe of native people as they moved about in the region, and the large stone stopped only when the people ceased to move about in order to create a village. The name of the tribe is Oneida, or people of the standing stone. At one time, the stone and the Oneida people were located next to a fine spring in a valley, but the stone, named after the chief of the tribe, is known as Shenandoah Boulder. That was moved to Forest Hill Cemetery several years later. Stones are at the center of sacred sites. For example, in the city of Jerusalem, remnants of King Solomon's temple, once destroyed, then rebuilt, and then destroyed again, that remain. They are some of the stone bricks that make up the Wailing Wall. And not far away is a stone that juts from the ground. It's where Abraham supposedly came close to sacrificing his own son Isaac, as told in a biblical tale. The Dome of the Rock is a Muslim shrine erected in 691 in the Common Era. It stands today and marks the spot where Muhammad, the prophet, is said to have undergone his mystical night journey. In Mecca, the Grand Mosque, where faithful followers circle, there exists the Black Stone in the structure's southeast corner. In Ireland, people make a pilgrimage to sites where mass rocks existed. They're still there, many of these structures. In a once heavily Protestant-infused society, Catholic priests held public mass on large stones. These rocks continue to summon people, even though the period of threat of harm has subsided. I suspect some of the structures also were used in early Wiccan, pagan, or earth-based practices, and maybe even today. In Eastern traditions, setting stones in rock gardens is a spiritual exercise. One of the oldest surviving garden manuals in the history of the world, the Sakatiki, which means the record of garden making, was written in Japan around the 11th century. In it, one learns how to place the garden stones. When Zen Buddhism, this is a quote, was widespread throughout the islands, the work of priest and gardener was often inseparable. The name for this occupation was ishitates, or stone-setting priests, a term that continued on the Zen tradition far into the Muramaki period. Stones have qualities, personas, and characteristics, and if the human gardener is attentive enough, the person might be able to decipher these and set them properly. The Sokatuki, continued, quote, explains the cornerstone-like importance of beginning with a particularly splendid stone, set it as a main stone, then following the request of that stone, set the others accordingly. So note how the first stone requests the other stones. The stones have names like never-aging rock, the water-striking rock, rock of 10,000 eons, the duck's abode rock, and the rock of perfect beauty. Isn't that wonderful to name a stone? This is Osaka Park in Chicago. Maybe some of you have been there. The park was a gift from Japan to Chicago in 1893. Japanese rock gardens are tended with great care. The beauty they exhibit tugs at our heartstrings. The fact that the rocks have been given names implies importance and a sense of purpose. Maybe they really do mirror our existence, our importance, our sense of purpose, our journey. In my younger years, if rocks were mentioned in a conversation about the journey of life, I would have said that they were huge boulders standing smack dab in the middle of whatever I wanted. As an aside, I think life can be especially hard in our younger years. We worry about how to pay the bills, raise a family maybe, juggle work life with home life, and how to grow a career. I have often thought that young people need older people to just lean on like a strong rock for support. When I was, or at times, our lives, when I was younger, rocks wouldn't have been considered as guideposts or Zen garden statements regarding beauty and a link to the community or to humanity. I would have viewed them as barriers, plain old stuff in my way. At times, our lives are filled with challenges that are opaque and feel as impenetrable as a rock. Some struggles are very personal: divorce, abuse, poverty, death of a loved one. These are obstacles that don't seem to budge when we push against them. At times like these, choices appear to be limited. And sometimes maybe we need to call on the counsel, the wise counsel of others, to help us as we traverse life's terrain of trials, of massive boulders impeding our attempt to experience lightness of being. So for some of you that are familiar with the Hindu tradition, there is a god, a Hindu god, that people lean on. It's Ganesh or Ganesha. Supposedly, this god helps in times of trouble. It is said Ganesh can assist one in order to work around obstacles. As I understand it, Ganesh may not help you to fix a relationship, but might be able to help you find a new one, might not get a raise for you at work, but might help you find a job offer from another company for more money. You may not get your deceased spouse back, but the void may one day become a little less painful. Ganesh is known to help people to find ways of overcoming obstacles, breaking them or moving them aside. The real obstacles Ganesh removes are those which prevent folks from recognizing alternative approaches to grappling with difficulties. It is said in Unitarian Universalism, we seek the sweetness and the wise counsel from world religions that inform and inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life. We value pluralism, that is, the differing spiritual paths which Unitarian Universalists personally might be participating in our own spiritual life. And it might be different than somebody else, but you know what? When you come in here, you don't have to let go of your practice of prayer, if that's it, or your meditation, or your quiet reflection on life. You don't have to let that go here when you're a Unitarian Universalist. You be you, and you are part of this expanded community. What we share is our attention and focus, love at the center of everything we do, the value of transformation, that we are open to having our perceptions questioned and our minds and hearts changed. To find a new perspective on a challenging life experience or to draw a tiny drop of helpful sustenance from that which is rock hard is to encourage stone barriers to ease slightly to the side of the path that is life. To offer compassion and advice to others who suffer is to add your stone, your contribution to humanity. It is to declare to fellow travelers, I have walked this way too, and I am with you on this journey. How can I help you find your way, your marker on what to do as you traverse life? As we go along the path of life together, offering compassion and advice to others who suffer is to add your stone. It is to declare, may we remain open to the gifts of wisdom revealed in nature, always nature. The wisdom revealed in nature that needs our protection, in faith that feeds our hearts, and in companionship that nurtures our growth. And so may these words ring rich and true for you. Blessed be. Amen, and may it be so.